Have you ever found a piece of yourself in a story told by someone else? A line in a book, a scene from a movie, a lyric in a song that seemed written just for you, or even a moment in a certain video game. You know, stories have this invisible power to connect us to emotions, to memories, to each other. And I want to say I am but one among many who have been molded by stories. In my journey from an angry kid to a fighter, to a borderline alcoholic, to the realms of digital storytelling, and now a father of two has taught me the true impact of a well-told story. But see, this journey isn't just mine. It reflects a universal experience where each of us is both an author and a character in this grand narrative of life. So, why do we tell stories? Why do we listen to them? Why do they resonate so deeply within us? Well, I believe it's because they're more than just entertainment or escape. They comfort us, challenge us, and sometimes they even change us, if you let them. And sure, sometimes it's just easier to look away, as we don't always like what we see. But take a look at this. Back in 2009, Rob Walker and Joshua Glenn, a journalist and a writer, respectively, conducted an experiment. They purchased 200 random mundane objects from thrift shops and garage sales, with the average price of an object being $1. And each item, unremarkable on its own, was paired with a short fictional story crafted by various writers. Now, these narratives imbued the objects with newfound significance. The objects were then listed for auction, and the result? People didn't just buy the item, they bought the story. And so their initial investment of $129 ballooned into over $4,000. Now, this wasn't just a fluke, it was a testament to the value we place on stories. The way they transform something insignificant into something priceless, or in this case, increase their value by over 6,000%. But why is that? Well, to understand why someone would pay more for an object with a story, we must delve deep into the human psyche. Various neuroscientific research tells us that when we encounter stories, our brains light up. We are not just passive listeners, we become active participants. Our neurons fire, not only in the language processing parts of our brains, but also in those areas that would activate if we were experiencing the events of the story ourselves. And this phenomenon is known as neural coupling, and it's a powerful connector. So when we hear a story, our brains synchronize with the storytellers, and for a moment their memories, emotions, and experiences become ours. Now, this brain bonding is why stories have been a communal heartbeat of societies for centuries. They foster empathy, build social connections, and strengthen our sense of community. Now, let's bring back those significant objects. When we imbue an object with a narrative, it's no longer a mere artifact. It's a vessel for the emotions and experiences it represents. You know, psychologically, we are not just buying an object, we are buying the emotional experience that comes with the story. We are paying for the joy, the sorrow, the triumph, and the connection it promises to bring into our lives. Because in the end, the stories we cherish are the legacies we carry forward. You know, they're the intangible threads weaving through our lives. And those threads, well, they are priceless. But what made me so obsessive in finding a story in everything? You know, it wasn't just curiosity, it was a need, a craving of sorts, for connections that passed the superficial ties. You know, when I was a kid, I would draw every day, create my own Lego universes, and eventually become passionate about history and military model making. And, you know, I just do my own thing. But then, as I grew, I became more aware of life. And the first impactful end of a story was when my parents split up. Now, this caused waves in my psyche, which eventually left me overflowing with emotions I could not find a way to handle at the time. And who, what, when, or why doesn't matter. We'll leave that story for another time. But fast forward to my teenage years, I'm sprinting through the snow, holding onto my backpack as I'm trying to catch the bus and go to the gym to blow off some steam. Now, the fun fact was I didn't tell anybody that I had joined a martial arts gym. You know, at the time, it seemed perfectly plausible because, as every confused kid, you don't just go out and seek help, you deal with what's in front of you the best way you can. So during this time period is when I've built my confidence and started competing. And some years later, I went pro, started making some money, I joined the national team, won trophies and championships, and beat some good names in the process. But something just felt off. You know, it was kind of paradoxical. I enjoyed pushing myself to the limit because, you know, I was a zealot, but I didn't enjoy the gaslighting and manipulation that became more than obvious over the years. And now, I don't want to sound like an average emo fan, but there was this darkness brewing inside me. And ironically enough, I didn't know how to communicate what was going on back then. You know, I would train and fight like a rabid dog for 9 to 10 months every year. And what's in between? Summer break, baby. So, I found the bottle. What? Oh, you want to know what happened next? I'm okay. Oh, you want to know how I got to this part? You know the good old wine is fine, but whiskey's quicker? Soon it stopped being about my career, but the countdown timer for when I could drink again. And going out wasn't just about going out. See, the more liquid I'd consume, the more bliss I'd feel. And this one summer, some dudes got into a scrap and started breaking some stuff in front of a bar. So I casually approached one of them, you know, to try and calm things down, unaware of him holding a glass shard from the previously broken beer bottle. Now, the dude was high on something, you know, he had the crazy eyes. So the next second, he swung the glass shard toward my throat, and I evaded, and everyone just went silent. This event wouldn't cross my mind until some 5 or 6 years later, because let me tell you something. Everyone has stuff happening in their lives. Everyone is weaving their own story. It's just a question of whether or not they understand why and how well they're dealing with it, if at all. But no one is angry because they were born angry, and acknowledging my own rage and impulsive behavior was probably one of the hardest things I've had to do. But that's also when I met their mother. You know, she's the most amazing person I know. And we've been together for almost 9 years, married for 5. And not a day goes by that we don't talk about something in an introspective manner. So a year after we got together, I stopped training and realized that I was right all along about the gaslighting and manipulation. But that was going to hurt a lot more down the line, because that's how repressed emotions work. See, I had found beauty in storytelling through different characters in Arma 3, and the stories wouldn't always make perfect sense, but they were mine. I was learning how to edit, posting low-tier videos in the process, teaching English to Korean and Japanese kids, and working as a waiter in a pub. I was not a good waiter. You see, there's this psychology thing called sublimation, where you take all that messy, negative, raw feelings and turn them into something, well, something useful. And for me, it was getting lost in the world of crafting stories. You know, this wasn't just killing time, it was like taking all the junk, piling up inside, and building a castle out of it. And philosophy-wise, it's like saying, hey, I'm the author here, and this is my story. I wasn't stuck being the person others had tried to hammer me into, because every cinematic and character I created, that was, in a way, me. Picking up the pen, rewriting my script. Even Norm, the crazy guy. Sure, you know, the past is a part of the tale, but I get to decide the next chapter. I was learning, editing, posting whatever I could. Yeah, even the not so great stuff, because it was real. You know, it was me getting better. And it turns out by teaching and waiting tables, I was doing more than just making ends meet. You know, I was proving to myself that I could be more than my anger and my past. See, that's the thing about repressed emotions. They're gonna find a way out, and they're sure as hell gonna try and claw their way back in. But better they come out in a story that teaches you something than in a way that you regret, right? So I had a dog, and I was walking her one morning, and I felt something's off. I don't feel good. My heart rate jumped, I was sweating, and my whole body just felt weak. You know, that's odd. That's never happened to me before. So I rushed home and drank some water, only to realize I had like a panic attack or something. Well, 2 hours prior, my wife and I had gotten back from the doctors, and we'd confirmed that we were gonna be parents. But here's the catch. We wanted it to happen, and we couldn't be happier. And you know, I'm not a panicky guy, so why on earth did I panic? Well, because all that mending and working on myself was gonna be tested to its limits. We were about to face something we've never faced before, and no matter what anybody tells you, you cannot possibly be ready for that. You can prepare yourself financially, but mentally it comes down to accepting that your life is just never going to be the same again, which can break people eventually, and I've seen it happen. But from that point on, you don't come first anymore. You've created life, and your main quest is to make the world a better place by raising decent human beings. You know, your side quests are time for yourself, time off, video games. For me, it was kind of different because I had to find a good balance because it was my job. So 2 days later, I couldn't stop smiling. You know, I realized that I never had anything delivered to me on a silver platter, and I also came to the conclusion that always finding a way was my biggest strength, and nobody can take that away. So professionally speaking, the content creation road I had chosen was in my head a point of no return, because for the first time in my life, I didn't know what my professional life was going to look like, but I was totally fine with it. You learn a lot about yourself once you get backed into a corner. And now, 4 years later, I understand I was right for overthinking stuff, for contemplating different outcomes and financial struggles, even stepping down from content creation for a while. Because when my daughter was born, we had way more experience than we did 2.5 years ago. My problem solving improved, my time management skills were on point, but a day only has 24 hours. And that is one piece of trivial information that makes all the difference in the world. So, what are you going to spend them on? Because you can't get it back. You know, during all this, do you know what I did every single day? I told that story over and over in my head. You know, I'd raise more questions, add more paragraphs and conclusions, rip open the badly sutured pieces, and spend time getting to know how to close them up again with more care. But this is just a glimpse into my story, so feel free to share it with whomever you think might find it useful. You've got your own story. I guess just don't let anyone else write it.